Hello, and welcome to Black Marriage Therapy, BMT for short. Here we become students of marriage in order to create healthy, long lasting relationships. I'm your host, Kristen Smith, and in today's episode, we discuss how to design the marriage you want through intentionality. Most marriages that are successful can attribute that success to the level of intentionality they put into the marriage. In every aspect of marriage, intention is like the wheels that make the car move. You can say you want better communication, but if there's no intention behind it, it won't happen. You can say you want better sex or better quality time, but if there's not intention behind it, it won't happen. I have learned over the years that the difference between a good year of marriage and an okay or even bad year of marriage is the level of effort and intention I put into keeping the goals and values of my marriage. Listen, I'm nothing if I'm not honest, so let's get honest. 2023 was a great year for us as a business. We had amazing growth and exceeded the goals we had for ourselves. But while our business was excelling, our marriage was on the decline. Before you get worried, it wasn't on the decline in the way that you think. It wasn't like we hated each other or were poorly communicating. We were simply going through a transition that put a damper on our relationship and brought us down to a standard we were not used to. As the year came to a close, Junior and I felt the strain our new commitments put on our relationship and decided quickly to make the necessary changes to realign and make our relationship a priority. So, for 2024, we are learning from our missteps and failures to create a better future for our relationship through intention. If you feel like your marriage is stagnant or you're having trouble growing in your relationship with your partner, this episode is for you. In this episode, we will discuss understanding what intention is, how to have the conversation about values and goals for your marriage, and how systems around your values, goals, and intentions can help you guys stay consistent and actually see your relationship grow. If you have been enjoying the content, please follow us on Instagram at Black Marriage Therapy, rate us on your podcast platform, and share your favorite episode with a friend. Please also stay tuned because our next episode is going to be on invisible trauma, and we're going to be having this conversation with the expert, Kara Kadu. Happy New Year to all of you guys. I hope that you guys ring in the new year well, and that you guys were around loved ones and, you guys were just feeling that positivity and that good energy. I also hope that you guys took some time to write goals and resolutions. I don't know if you guys still do resolutions. Shoot, I still do it. I feel like it's very helpful, but I hope that on that vision board, you included your marriage because it is super important to set goals and intentions for your marriage and relationship as well. And that's what we're talking about today, which is intentional marriage, actually putting effort and action behind the goals and the vision and values that we have for our relationship. I think that sometimes we feel like love should be effortless, which I understand in some parts of relationship, it really is about novelty and spontaneity and, kind of like throwing caution to the wind. I really do get that. But ask anyone who has a successful, healthy relationship, and they will tell you there is more effort and intentionality that goes into good, healthy, long-lasting relationships than the spontaneity and novelty. Like that's important too, but I'm just saying it really does take a lot of effort and intentionality. So let's jump right into the episode and first start off with defining intention. This is super important. Y'all, I love definitions, okay? I love definitions because it really does set context for the entire conversation. And I found two definitions that I feel like really is going to help us understand when we say intention. I don't want to be arbitrary here. So the first definition, it says, intention means being purposeful and mindful in your actions and making choices that align with your values and your goals. And Webster specifically says, intention is done by intention, but that's not the definition. You can't use a word to define a word. But on the back end of that Webster definition, it says design. Now, that definition I think is perfect in explaining and helping us to understand what intention is. When you are being intentional in your relationship, you are designing the vision that you have for your relationship. So for example, if your vision for your relationship is that you guys have effective communication, to get to effective communication, you have to design a path to get there. And I think that is what intention is. It's about being purposeful, making purposeful steps, and being mindful in your actions, as the definition says. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about being intentional in your relationship and in your marriage. And we're going to really break down the examples of intention, what values are, what goals are, how to have that conversation, so that we can really understand how we can make our actions line up with the vision we have for our relationship. Now that we have a common understanding of what we mean when we're talking about intention, I actually want to walk you to the steps of how to do this. But we actually have to start from the bigger picture, going all the way down to the small steps. The first thing that you have to do, if you haven't yet, is to start with the conversation about values in your relationship. You cannot set goals, a vision, intentions, efforts, actions until you understand the values in your relationship. And this conversation sometimes can be difficult because our values are often very tied to our identity and we hold it very close to our heart. And when people are, discussing values, if somebody disagrees, they may feel so offended or have an emotional reaction because their values are so close to their identity. To help you understand, so your values are fundamental beliefs or principles that guide your choices, behaviors, and actions. They represent what is important and meaningful to you on a deeper level. Some examples of values are integrity, honesty, compassion, family, personal growth, community service. Those are some examples of values. This may be something that you have to start with having a conversation for yourself to kind of have a better understanding of, okay, what are those things that are deeply fundamental for me, my beliefs, and then bring them to your spouse. One way to help you kind of understand or find out more about your values is for you to look at the things that you admire in others and the things that drive you nuts. For example, one of my deep core values is personal growth. It's hard for me to just stay still. I always feel like I have to be growing and getting better and improving in some way, shape, or form. And that's one thing that I value in others, but then also can annoy me, especially when they're close to me. If it's people I don't know, then I don't know them. What can I do? But people who are close to me, sometimes I feel like, if maybe we're having the same conversation over and over again and, they really are not interested in growing and they're very comfortable in where they at, that can kind of irk my nerves. And, I'm going to love them and I'm going to stick beside them. But at the same time, I kind of limit myself and my conversations with them in regards to personal growth so that I don't get myself frustrated. But anyways, that's kind of an easy, short way to get you to help you understand what your values are. And when you guys come together, then you can discuss your values with each other And what you want in that conversation is that for most of your values, for the most part, to align. If they're starkly different, then you guys are going to clash a lot. It's okay to have different values here and there, but if your spouse is black and you're white, on the values, like values, which is fundamental beliefs, then you guys may find that you often are clashing a lot, and that those clashes may not just be like a communication issue or like an intimacy issue, but a deep core value, which may need some additional help. Okay, now once you guys have the values, then you can move on to the next step, which is creating a vision, because you guys now have an understanding for your relationship in regards to what you guys value. Now you can create a vision. We're going to just use one example just so that we can so that we can walk through the episode and it kind of all makes sense. So for example, if a common value for my husband and I is, open communication and transparency, then in our vision or the big picture for our relationship, we're going to put, that we are great communicators, that we know we are emotionally intelligent, that we are able to convey our feelings and create a safe place for one another through openness, through transparency. We're going to be honest and integral, right? That's going to be the big picture vision of our marriage based on our values. Right. So you guys have to come together, if you don't have it already, and create a vision for your marriage. This is how healthy relationships happen. They don't healthy marriages and relationships aren't just frivolous. They aren't arbitrary. They are very intentional. Okay. So it's important that you guys sit down and do this and create a vision. And then once you have a vision, now we can get to goals. And what are goals? Goals are specific, measurable, time-bound objectives that you aim to achieve. Using the same example of openness and transparency, good communication, like as a value for our relationship, which we added to our vision, a goal for our relationship may be sticking to our rules of engagement. Right? Rules of engagement is that when we are heated discussion, when we are having conversation, there are a set of rules that we always stay in the parameters of. There are boundaries that we set for how we talk to one another. That would be an example of a goal, right? For the year, like this year, we are going to, in our heated conversations, in our calm conversations, we are going to stick to the boundaries and the parameters we have set ourselves for communication in order to reach our vision based on our value of openness, transparency, and good communication. I hope that you're following the steps and that is making sense now of how you can create a very intentional marriage and get the marriage that you envision for your relationship. And I believe that these things are measurable, because it may not be like something numbers on a chart, but you should do at least a check-in maybe twice a year, like 6 months in, and then at the end of the year, and recap and think about your arguments and the conversation that you had over the course of 6 months, over the course of 12 months. Did you feel like you got better, or did you feel like you got worse? Did you feel like you got closer, or you guys are further apart, right? Did you edify each other with your words, or did you cut each other down? And that is a way for you to measure if you are moving in the right direction. Now that we have set our values, now that we have a vision for our marriage, and based on that vision, in this year we have set goals, then we can start to become intentional in order to make those goals happen. So in this segment, I want to talk about intentionality. I hope that I created a framework for you guys to understand, and a step-by-step into how you can actually create the relationship that you want. When you start from that big picture, moving down all the way to the small day-to-day actions, because those day-to-day actions that are walking you towards your vision are what make a huge difference in relationships, day-to-day, daily actions. So when you're being intentional, the first thing that I want you to know when it comes to intention is that you should expect disruption. Disruption to intention is inevitable. As soon as you put your mind to something, I believe this is the law of the earth. This comes from the Bible. You can find it in so many different spaces. Disruption to intention is inevitable. And I don't want you to be shocked by it. I don't want you to be surprised by it. I don't want you to feel like this is your sign to stop, that it's uncomfortable. It's actually your sign to keep going, right? You are going against the least path of resistance, and that will bring friction. It will bring discomfort. So as soon as you guys decide to say, you know what, we are going to get our finances in order. We value being financially secure. So that's what we're going to do. We want that for our marriage. Let's get our finances in order. Baby girl, baby boy, I'll tell you what, your car will break down. The baby's going to need $50 million for, for diapers, wipes, and medical bills. All of a sudden, your mama need help, your daddy need help, and just left, right, and center. And that may make you feel like, wow, okay, maybe we should just keep going the old way, or man, this is too difficult. This is too hard. There's more pressure. There's more stress. I want to encourage you to keep going in your intention, because that disruption is normal. Do not be surprised by it. And if you're not surprised by it, then you know it's coming and you're like, oh yeah, this is part of it. Let's let this part pass and let's keep going to work towards that marriage that we are envisioning. That's the first thing that I want you to understand about intention. The second thing I want you to understand about intention is that it does not stand alone. To be intentional, right? To make purposeful action, a system is necessary. There has to be processes around the habit that you're trying to create in order to push you to keep doing that habit. For example, I'm going to use an outside example for marriage, and then I'm going to use a specific example for Junior and I. When we think about working out, the habit of going to the gym is like, okay, I have to go to the gym. But if you create a system around going to the gym, it's going to help push you towards keep doing that habit or that purposeful action in order to make your body well. So a system, for example, can be, I am going to lay all my workout clothes, I'm going to lay it on the counter every night before I go to bed. Or some people, and I've heard this, I have friends who do this, they will put their workout clothes on as their pajamas, right? And when they wake up, they freshen up and they are ready to go. There is no excuse. The clothes are already on. They put their sneakers on and they're going to work out. There has to be a system around the habit that you're trying to create in order for you to continue that habit. So if we're talking about relationships and we're talking about communication, if we're talking about communication, because we talked about, valuing openness and transparency and having a vision for effective communication and setting a goal for rules of engagement, a system might be, if you're really trying to do this right, you write out your rules of engagement. You laminate it. And every time you guys having a conversation, you pull it out and you just set it on the table. It's not like you got to use it or reference it, but at least it's there and you know that, hey, there is a standard by which we are agreeing upon to communicate, right? That is a system to help push you to the habit of being effective communicators. And that is how you take purposeful action in your relationship. So let me give you a personal example, because I do not like to preach what I don't practice. So I actually practice this and now I'm preaching it because I know what I'm talking about, y'all. I'm telling you. So last year, I really realized that I was struggling with taking accountability, being responsible, and I was specifically just blaming a lot. Whenever Junior would come to me with his feelings or how he feels, just be like, oh, well, no, it's because you did this or you did that or whatever. So last year, the intention I was setting was to stop blaming Junior and taking ownership for my my actions. In our relationship, we do value accountability. We value responsibility, but I was not displaying that. My actions were not aligned with the values and the vision that we had for our relationship. So I set a goal to practice and work on not blaming and taking ownership and accountability for my behavior, for my actions, my emotions, and it was very, very difficult. I ain't gonna hold y'all. It was very difficult. It took me standing in my messiness very often, and it took me swallowing things. Even if I felt like I was right, I was practicing not trying to defend all the time, but making the effort to believe first, to hear first, to be empathetic first. And if another conversation is necessary from the original, then we can do that. But I had to practice and put myself in an uncomfortable position so that I can actually take responsibility. The system I created for myself in order to do this is first practicing empathy, which really means shutting up. Now, that may sound harsh, okay, but sometimes that's what I got to say to myself. Girl, be quiet. Be quiet, okay? You do not need to defend your point. It sounds like he is attacking you, but you're safe. You are safe. Calm down, take a breath. He is expressing himself. He's not attacking you, right? And I really was making an effort to hear Junior with my ears, but also with my heart, so I can actually hear what he's trying to say and not just like judge him and feel like he's attacking me. I didn't try to justify my actions, and I apologized quickly. The second part of my system was knowing my triggers and what to do about it. There are certain conversations specifically that we're having, if my husband is bringing up a gripe about it, that I know will make me go into like fight or flight, make me want to defend myself. If he's talking about, my motherhood, if he's talking about cleanliness, if he's talking about, anything that makes me feel weak or vulnerable, to be honest, can trigger me and make me really go into that defend, and blame him mode. So knowing and being aware of my trigger was part of my system, but not just knowing it, knowing what to do about it. And literally, guys, I'm telling you, and it may seem dramatic, but after the conversation, I would leave. Like once he's done and we've done having a conversation, if I know I've been triggered, I'm like, hey babe, I just need to take 30 minutes to step away. I would go to another room. I would go take a walk, and I would, like, if I need to cry or scream, and I know it sounds dramatic, but it really is, like, it was really hard for me. Right. But I did not want to continue in a relationship where I couldn't take accountability for my actions, which was harming my husband, which was making him feel isolated, making him feel unheard. So I had to kind of deal and suffer with that issue and work on it for myself, right, in order for me to be better for my relationship. So I would leave. I would talk to myself. I would journal. I would figure out, why did I feel triggered? What was it about that he was saying? What did I really hear? Ask myself some hard questions. And then once I'm calm, once I feel safe, the third part of my system was going back and seeking feedback, right? Once everything died down, I'm like, okay, hey babe, do you feel like I heard you? This is what I heard. Do you feel like I heard you? Did you feel like I was blaming you? What could I have done better? And this didn't happen all the time. Okay. I'm not about to sit here and lie to y'all and be like, oh, I did this every time and it was great. No, this did not happen all the time. But most of the time, especially when I've had time to really process and come back to a safe place, I will come back, ask for feedback, ask what I could do better. And I'll tell you what, for the first time in a long time in our relationship, I have swallowed some very, very tough conversations where I felt like I could have fought tooth and nail to be right. But I was more concerned with, and it was more important to me that we had a relationship where we can take accountability for our actions, and we can be responsible. So that's an example of, a goal, setting intention, having vision, and creating a system around that intention in order to make that vision come to fruition. So before I leave you guys, I want to end off with just two short tips for this entire process. I really encourage you guys to sit down and, you know, listen, goal setting for me is always exciting. So that's why I'm like, I hope y'all do it. But I really hope you guys sit down and really talk about those values, the vision, the goals, right? And how you're going to create that intentional, purposeful action plan backed up by a system. That is very important. Knowing that your intention will be thwarted almost immediately, right, by disruption, but you're going to keep going because what's most important is that vision that you have for your relationship and creating a healthy, long-lasting relationship. So in the midst of all that, I don't want you guys to forget to, check in from time to time, right? Maybe every quarter, every 3 months, say, hey, this is what we're working on, how we're doing, what is working, what is not working. If that system is not working, axe it, get rid of it. It's fine, right? And do something else and do it quickly, right? So you debrief, you check in, what's working, what's not working. And the last thing is don't forget to acknowledge and celebrate your victory, those measurable moments. If 3 months go by, right, and you guys have had healthy conversations, healthy arguments, right, where you guys are abiding by your rules of engagement, you guys are being respectful, all those things, celebrate those moments. Say, listen, baby, we did that. We're doing well. Let's keep going, because those celebration builds confidence, and that confidence builds trust, which encourages you guys to continue to being intentional and creating the marriage that you guys are striving towards. So that is all that I have for you guys for this episode. I would like to end with a quote from Dr. Michelle Weiner Davis. And she says, intentional couples understand the importance of proactively addressing issues, adapting to changes, and continuously investing in the growth and well-being of the relationship. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Black Marriage Therapy. If you haven't yet, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Black Marriage Therapy. Thanks again for listening. Talk to you soon.